Namaste. Technology. So, I had a friend in high school, arguably my best friend in high school, whose name was Dave. And I won't say his last name because this is going on the internet, and what I'm about to reveal is probably a little embarrassing, even though he revealed it freely to me. Now, Dave has always had a scientific bent, and Dave heard that you could light a match with your farts. Now, Dave is Italian, and so he's a little furry. Not that I've ever seen it, but I've seen him in shorts. And his ass had an unfortunate experience a couple years before the story I'm about to tell you, when he trespassed up north somewhere on a neighbor's property and got shot in the ass with a shotgun shell loaded with rock salt, which, as you might imagine, would be a little uncomfortable. But apparently recovered from that, Dave took a match, dropped trowel, bent over, and mind you now, this was the 70s, so Agent Orange was in full use. Not only did he light the match, but some deforestation occurred as a result of the ensuing fire. Probably not as bad for you as Agent Orange, and probably not as effective either, and what got me thinking about this, I don't really remember, but I was thinking about it, and it's kind of funny because throughout his life, Dave's scientific bent has continued, and it's pretty amazing. He lives in another part of the country now, and has a fair amount of land kind of in the sticks, and he goes out and finds dead trees or not dead trees, and he's calculated the acreage, and he creates in them places for wildlife, including insects and other things, to live, and that actually you increase the health of the forest by leaving some dead trees around because things occupy it. And he had pictures on Facebook of a little owl that was in a hole that had been cleared out by a woodpecker, who was created the hole, of course, because he was eating the bugs that were living in the tree. And this owl, you couldn't tell it from the picture, but it was only 3.5 inches tall. It's I forget what its baby owl is called, but just sitting in the hole. So, I mean, what's that? An owlet, as opposed to an outlet? I don't know. Owlet. So this and bad decisions can lead to positive things. Then I was listening to some of Thomas Merton's talks that he gave in the monastery. Well, a lot of them were recorded, and some of them are being released now, so you can listen to some of the classes he taught. And I was listening to a retreat, I'm still listening to it, an informal retreat that he gave for a bunch of nuns who were heads of religious orders. And he talked about how when they used to take the discipline, that though I don't think this was 67 or 68, I don't think they were doing it at that time anymore, but how different people responded to it, and the nuns were kind of horrified that they ever did that. You could tell by their reaction, but I was a little horrified, to be honest with you, that in the 60s this was still going on. But it kind of reflects that idea, or this idea, I should say, that if I'm unworthy, then what I need to do is act as if I'm unworthy. And the problem psychologically, of course, is that acting as if we're unworthy doesn't make us feel worthy. It just cements this idea that we're unworthy. If every time we lean back in a chair we feel where we've lashed ourselves, it's not going to make us feel as if, oh, this is great and I'm loved. Of course, on the other hand, if you could, and I hope people do, if they're feeling unworthy, challenge that defective thought. But the tendency towards doing things that are painful doesn't just exist in Christianity. It obviously, from the first reading, existed in Buddhism. And what you don't get, and Hinduism, I should say, in fairness, because this was before Buddhism. But what you don't get in here is that the Buddha, it says from his very first teaching, Buddha categorically rejected these two paths that he qualified as extreme paths. Well, it doesn't tell you that that's because he tried at least the ascetical one to the extreme and discovered that it didn't get him anywhere. That it wasn't, in fact, a way that you could awaken, that if you physically incapacitate yourself, spiritual growth is rather impossible. And as intuitive as that may seem, it obviously hasn't been, throughout all time, thought to be common sense. We sort of posit a God or a divinity that is a sadomasochist that runs a bondage dungeon in his spare time and is pleased when a lot of patrons show up. And so those things, oddly enough, both resonated for me with this gospel. Because I think when we're deciding that what we need to do is punish ourselves, what we're really doing is using an external method to try and change us inside. And it's not the kind of external method that we can really internalize. It's just something that stays external, well, forever, quite frankly. If we crawl on our knees around certain shrines, we're supposed to get healed, but aren't we really just creating a need for healing because of the damage we've done for ourselves climbing steps on our knees? So two things happen in this gospel. Oh, I should say, too, that you can't really say sensuous pleasures 3 times fast. Sensuous. Two things happen, of course, and I think depending on the time I hear the story, one half of it resonates more than the other. You're either more concerned about Jairus' daughter, or you're more concerned about this woman in the old language who had an issue of blood. But it occurs to me that the woman resonates more with me this year in some ways, but it occurs to me that we have the same sort of thing, only this time it's not self-inflicted. We have a condition, a harmful condition, that's standing as a barrier to spiritual growth. And unlike years past, I don't find it at all incredible that Jesus was aware that this woman touched him. And that, I don't know if he would have used the language power went out, as the gospel does, but I've seen too many stories of too many spiritual what's the word I'm looking for? Spiritual adepts who are very aware of what goes on with their physicality and very aware of what goes on with their energy level. And while it certainly is true, and on some level it's important, that under Jewish law the woman made Jesus unclean, and that did not upset Jesus, but according to Jewish tradition, it should have upset Jesus. But he just is fine with the fact that she's been healed. The other part of it suggests to me this truth that there is so much that our minds do to impact our health that we don't understand, that we really need to understand. And this story points that out as well. it doesn't really matter whether it was something within Jesus that cured the woman or something within the woman that cured the woman after she created in herself this possibility for that happening once she touched Jesus. And then there's Jairus and his daughter. And I really get stuck on this thing. Don't bother him anymore. Don't bother Jesus anymore. Your daughter's dead. Not so much because it was wrong to say that. I mean, on some level, I guess they were being respectful of the teacher. But on the other hand, they're kind of seeing him as like a tool that you can use. So if we can't use the Jesus tool to heal her because she's dead, well then don't bother Jesus because he's got nothing to offer us besides these miracles, besides changing reality the way it is. And I think Jesus continuing there is a case of him showing the people that perhaps reality isn't quite as we see it to be. Professional mourners are around. That seems like an uplifting job. I don't know why we don't have it anymore, where you just show up and wail, and get some coin for it.
I think they do still have it in some cultures.
Oh, we need it here. We do. And was the girl dead? Was she just in a coma? Does Talitha Kum really mean little girl get up? Or no, okay, that one we can answer. But there's plenty of jokes going around about what it might mean. But again, it's the girl was dying. The perception was she was dead. The perception was wrong, even if she was temporarily dead. Even if she had fallen into such a deep coma that they believed she was dead. We just get these wild ideas about what would be good for us to do. And this would help me spiritually. I know. I'll scar up my back. And I don't know what Lutherans did that, and I'm not aware of any Anglicans doing that.
It just made it seem like it was something that still went on.
Yeah,
Which
no.
is why I was like, oh.
No. I mean, maybe, the Da Vinci Code, sure. But maybe back at the time of the Reformation, some of the first people to jump ship.
I did have a CPE instructor since passed who left the convent. When she was in the convent, Kate said they were told to use the discipline. And she would hear, people, the sounds coming from the rooms, and then one day she was particularly sore, and someone took her aside and said, "Don't you realize we're just all pounding our mattresses with that thing? You're not really supposed to use it."
Yeah, it's, it to me it's kind of related to this idea that if you fast long enough, you'll have visions. Well, yeah, of course you will, because your sugars will be low. You'll start to see all kinds of weird stuff. That doesn't mean that that's God. If you hurt yourself physically enough, yeah, you'll see stars and all kinds of crap. But it doesn't mean that it's God.
So we're not going to have, like next Lent, we're not going to have a make your own discipline.
I bet you if we put it on Meetup, we'd have some interesting people show up. It just, I think there's this human tendency to believe that the spiritual path has to be somehow unpleasant, extremely difficult, and very, very counterintuitive. And I think all three of those things are false, or they're wrong. I think life is sometimes unpleasant and difficult, and that's true. But we bring all that performance stuff in, and we don't stop to think about the consequences of it. If I light this match what's going to happen? It's going to burn me. If I get engaged in spiritual practices that make me weak or hurt me or are somehow life-denying, it's not going to lead me to the life-giving place that spirituality is supposed to lead us to. Which isn't to say that there aren't mildly ascetical practices that can't be beneficial. But it is to say that the ascetical practices alone don't comprise a healthy spirituality. Don't drink, don't dance, don't smoke. Don't listen to that rock and roll music. Never really did anything but make people hide their playing cards, their cigarettes, their music, and their tap shoes. And isn't fostering a dishonesty like pounding your mattress, isn't that exactly the wrong thing to do? Don't we have enough of that in daily life? Don't we wear enough masks? Yes. What if we were really us? What if we showed up? You know, I've talked before about Ram Dass's idea of you have to remember the TVs with the knobs, but how you turn to channel 1, or of course there wasn't a 1, was there? It started at 2. So you turn to channel 2 and you're who you are at work. And you turn to channel 3 and you're in your role as a child of your parents. And channel 4, you're perhaps a parent to your children. And channel 5, who you are when you gather with friends. And he would always joke that, you know, channel 6, there was nothing there because the Buddhists have to have a channel to watch. You turn it again. But what if the spiritual journey really, and I believe it is, really is about just finding who we really are underneath all that crap? What if we showed up at work, at play, with family and friends, and we're just us? Okay, so we'd lose a job or two.
I'm just thinking of this more in terms of the non-duality that I've been reflecting more on. It clearly, ascetical practices that are geared towards building up my ego in the name of dying to self are not very good ascetical practices.
No. Or the guy in the traditional parish who says, I'm the worst sinner in the whole world, and says it as proof of his humility. But he's actually saying he's better at something than everybody else, so it isn't really about humility at all. It's really an unhealthy manipulation of what's supposed to be a good thing. And with dualism, if we're talking about trying not to be dual, trying not to create this mind-body divide, then why in the world are we punishing our bodies so that our souls will be free?
Going back to your question about like what we just show up as ourselves, I think that in some cases, yes, they're masks, but I think in other cases, maybe it's just, you know, adapting ourselves to a situation like at work. You know, it's not that you're presenting a false self, but there are things that you very much authentic when I go to work because I'm ridiculous, but I work with children. But even then, there are some things that I have to keep in check, but I wouldn't necessarily call it like a different mask or anything.
Well, I was saying mask in terms of like persona.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So society says you have to clean your house.
Well, it's so, you know what I mean, those expectations,
Yeah.
like, that, and it's that thing I think that we ingrain within ourselves. And it's kind of like you said, it's almost like the self-flagellation,
Mhm.
essentially, where it's, you know, we beat ourselves up if we're not living up to standards that somebody else has set.
Mhm.
And so it's just,
So how do we adapt our own standards? It seems to me it involves letting go at least of what the people who set those standards think.
sometimes it's hard to let go of them, you know, when it's become so ingrained in you.
Mhm.
And even if you don't believe it, it's so.
And so finding what I really want is hard. But it's a spiritual practice. My parents never let my paternal grandparents know that they drank because my paternal grandparents were conservative Methodists who didn't have playing cards or tap shoes or any of that. And so we got a new refrigerator one day. I know I've probably told this before, but got a new refrigerator like one Saturday. It was delivered. My dad loaded it up with a fresh case of Weber beer brewed in Waukesha. And my mother didn't know there was anything in the refrigerator, so she threw it open to show my paternal grandmother how much room there was in it, and then slammed it shut when she saw 24 brown bottles of Weber in there. Now, that's inauthentic. That's being unable to say to somebody, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. And however you feel about that is your business for you to deal with. But instead, we bury ourselves in those situations and try to pretend we're something we're not. And I think that leads us to that place where now we feel bad about ourselves. So now what should we do because we're such bad people? And it's just an unhealthy downward spiral. Because it's like, okay, here's my beer. If you, if you don't like it, you can't have any. So, and beyond that, that's your shit. If I like retaining every electric bill I ever received in a box under my bed, which sooner or later fills up the whole house, well, that's my stuff. But it is hard to say that, and harder to do it. Should we pray about stuff? And Matt?